have a vibrant life, like a life that you really love, a life that really matters to you, a life where you feel really alive. And that's what we're going to look at. And so we're going to talk about grounding, but what I really wanted to give you was the 3 simplest things that, in my opinion, in the last 13 years as I've been just continually asking this question, what are the simplest things that you can do to make the biggest difference in your life? And so we're going to take on those. Does that sound good? Yeah. Okay, here we go. So what is a vibrant life? This is the first thing to just really look at, because so many of us are running so fast, right? We have all of these responsibilities. So let's just take a second to just think about, what does a vibrant life really look like? What does a vibrant life look to you? Just shout out some things. Raise your hand. What's a vibrant life?
Great relationships.
Great relationships. What else? Freedom. Energy. Health. Happiness. What else? Love, gratitude, right? All of this. And so it's interesting how rarely we really ask ourselves this question, right? Like, what kind of life do we really want to have? And that's because, in part, that we have so many hats. So we are so many things to everybody. So we're like Sporty Spice Mom. If you guys have seen me present before, this is my all-time favorite slide. It follows me everywhere I go, and you'll see why. So we're Sporty Mom. We have our careers. We also want to be fun, so we want to have our girlfriends. We want to go out and have time together. We have to be butcher, baker, candlestick maker. And then, and only then, if all of our other hats are filled, then this is who we are. Okay, so stand up. Because we got to move our bodies. We are way too stagnant. Okay, so now really feel yourself, right? Okay, now the hands go up. Woo-hoo! You guys feeling it? This is what it feels like to be a woman. Just so we remember, right? We don't have spit up on our shirts today. We don't have to go get snacks for our kids. Okay, go ahead and sit down. Thank you. So what's funny is that in all of our hats, when we get really busy, which one of these hats gets killed off first? Like, really? Like, right? That's like the first one. Dead. It's so funny. So the key is simplicity. And I'll vacillate. You know, I get really passionate about this because this is my love, and I'm so grateful to be here with you because we are the change makers. And we're going to talk about this at the presentation, but it gets me moved literally to tears to be able to have an opportunity to sit with you because you're up to something. I just want to acknowledge who's in this room. The fact that you took time out to create an opening for you in all the busyness of your life so you could be here to learn how to become an extraordinary mom, to take time to nourish and nurture yourself so you could go back to your families and have more love to share with them, more love to be able to share with the world. That takes something. And I just really want to acknowledge you and let you know what a privilege it is to be here with you. Okay, so here's the thing. We are running. So whenever we come to a conference like this, whether it's longevity, if it's a Moms in Charge, if it's a health conference, whatever it is, it's really easy to make our lives more complicated as a result. So like all of a sudden, we already had all these things to do, and we were already overwhelmed, and you're like, holy crap, now I have to learn how to make smoothies and raw foods and dehydrate. I have to use my oils. And like all of a sudden, you feel more stressed than before you came. And so the key is to really keep things simple because vibrant health and happiness is literally what we are designed to be. You don't have to do anything to be healthy. In fact, it's abnormal for you not to be vibrant and alive. And so we just need to get the roadblocks out of the way for that full expression to happen. But I want you to listen to this in a very specific way, this presentation. I want you to listen through your kids. I want you to listen through the future that they're living into and the space that you're creating for them. Because if we just start out, we just need to be clear that of all the amazing things that we're doing, it's not working very well, right? And this is probably the easiest thing to see in a second, like what's really happening. This is obesity in our country. If you saw the obesity numbers for kids, it's even more staggering. But just watch this. This will take 15 seconds. Here is the number of people that are obese or overweight. significantly overweight. And you can see, so here is 10%, 14%. Watch what happens over the years, 86, 87, 88, 89, 90. Is this disgusting? They had to make a new category in 1991, 15 to 19% overweight. 92, 93, 94. Look what's happening to our world, 20% overweight. 2000, they had to make 25%. Crazy, right? Doesn't that just like hit you to your core? And so insanity is continuing to do the same things, thinking we're going to get something else. And so we just need to start over. This is what I want to say. It's just time to clear the decks. This doesn't have to be hard. Your health doesn't have to be hard. Raising kids doesn't have to be hard. We just can't do it alone anymore. That's the distinction. We just can't do it alone. And so we're going to keep it really simple. So I'm going to give you 3 things, 3 takeaway points that you can go back into your life tomorrow and implement immediately. That's what we're going to look at. And so the first is cleansing the body. So I learned something really amazing. And one thing that I love to do is to take these really complex, convoluted medical breakthroughs and just ask myself, like, what does this really mean to a human being, right? How is this really going to change our life? And there's something called epigenetics. Who has heard of epigenetics? See, this is a group of really in touch women. Awesome, like half of us have heard of epigenetics. Epigenetics is just literally, here's the simple break it down version. We keep being told that if we have the gene for breast cancer, if we have the gene for heart disease or obesity or whatever it is, we're going to most likely get that disease, right? Have we all been told that? Yes? Right? To the point now where literally if you have the gene for breast cancer, they want to take off your breasts. Like that's how gene crazed we are, right? Like this is happening to women all over. You need to know this. And so we pointed everything to the gene. Now here's the thing you need to know. And I think this whole movement is going to be about moms becoming their family's own best doctors. That's my stand in the world. That every mom becomes their family's own best doctor. Because we're going to take a stand, because we're mama bears. And we are not going to tolerate anything less than the best for our families. So the Human Genome Project, the idea was that they were going to find out every gene for every disease, right? And they thought it was going to take years and years and years and years. And they finished it literally within a matter of months. And this is why, because genes do not tell the whole story. In fact, we have 99% of the same genes as a chimp. And clearly we're very different. And so the key of why we're different is that literally our lifestyle choices turn on or off the expression of genes. So you could very well have the gene for breast cancer, but you have the control, and this is what we're learning. You have the power to either turn on that gene and have it code for disease or silence it for your entire life and never code that gene. Wouldn't that be something you would really love your general practitioner to tell you when you go in for a physical? Like, you know what? Your whole family history, every single person has heart disease. Wouldn't it be amazing to learn a few things you could do to help yourself not express that gene? Isn't that awesome? Okay, we're going to do it. Okay, so what turns on or off these disease-causing genes? It's really, really, really simple. And I wish I had a whole day with you so we could go through all this, but we're just going to look at a couple little pearls. Epigenome just means above the genes. It's going to either turn on or off these genes that code for disease. 3 things it responds to: what we eat, how toxic we are, and I'll give you this presentation, so don't worry, and stress. Okay, so the first 2 seem pretty easy, like we can take those on, but stress, that's not really that helpful for somebody to tell you. Like, do not be stressed. That's like the worst thing ever. Do not, no matter what you do, you will make yourself sick. Don't be stressed. I find that in my practice, that's not very helpful. So I'm going to share with you, personally for me, one of the simplest tools that I use to maintain in the face of anything. So people often look at my life, and I'm sure a lot of you have the same thing, and they think that because we are committed to exuding and giving energy to the world, that our lives are easy, and that everything must be a fairy tale in our life if we're able to give this energy. And that's just not the case. In fact, many of us who are here to really be a gift to the world, in fact, experience the opposite, where we have a continual practicing of challenges coming our way so that we can really flex that ability to be able to, in the face of anything, be a person of generosity and compassion. And so I just wanted to give that gift to you, that when the shitstorm of your life is happening, you still have an opportunity to be able to keep yourself grounded. So I'm going to share with you one of those tools that I use. And it's in full effect right now. So we could talk about all kinds of things. Research, it's funny. I'll send all this stuff to you. I often am speaking to practitioners and things like that. And because their science brains really need to know all this stuff, as I'm sitting here in this room with you, I really get that I'm sitting in a room with a whole bunch of hearts with ears. Like, that's what I'm present to right now, is like just this love and this excitement about being with each other and just like really drinking everything up. So you're going to see lots of research slides. And for those of you who are really into science, I'll email them to you, but you're going to see I'm going to go through them pretty fast. What's interesting is that they're doing this research where literally what they're finding is that what we eat does not just affect our health. What it in fact affects is not only our health, but the health of the two next generations. And I'm not going to go through the actual science, but what the takeaway point is, you are literally affected by what you eat, what your mother ate, and what your grandmother ate. And so this gives me goosebumps because my daughter's in the room. Where are you, Jaden? So what excites me is that this is all cumulative. So epigenetics is a cumulative. It's not like you have to be heroic and do everything perfectly, but every time you make a healthy choice, you are moving more and more towards expressing genes that code for vibrance, and you're silencing genes that code for disease. And you're giving that gift to your kids. But you're not just giving that to your kids, you're giving it to your grandkids and your great-grandkids. Literally, every single decision you make is impacting the next two generations. And if that's something that you would like to learn more about, there's all this amazing research in epigenetics. One of the easiest to understand is Bruce Lipton. Really great work and funny. Like, I love that combination of like dorky researcher with like super funny. Like, it's just entertaining to me. The other cool thing, we all hear about BPA. Who's heard about BPA? Right? It's screwing up our reproduction system. It's having our little girls have their periods at 8. It's having boys have all these issues with tension, focus. There's so many chemicals in the world. The other interesting thing about epigenetics is that we're learning that literally if we can clean the body, if we can cleanse the body, the effect of toxins on our little bodies, especially on their bodies, is dramatically reduced. And so in addition to trying to create a world and environment for them that is healthy, you also have that power to be able to, every single time you make a choice to feed them something healthy, you're armoring them. You are making it more difficult for those toxins to do damage. And that's encouraging as a mom, because I don't know how you guys feel. My daughter now is 10, and I spent like the first at least 8 years of her life like in panic mode. Like, the more you learn, the more neurotic you get, right? And you're like, oh my God, I need to put my kid in a bubble. That's it. Big bubble around the house. Like, we're going to have trees and plants, and we're going to create a utopia. And it's really nice to know that there's some simple key things that we can do that can really make a dramatic difference in their strength and their stamina and their ability to deal with what's coming at us. It was so neat to hear Mark and the music. That was like unbelievable. What a great gift. And I'll give you a couple other tools that we can use as well. So the cool thing now is that this is no longer like airy-fairy things. We literally have proof that if we eat, so let me just show you something in relationship to cancer. No one likes to talk about cancer. No doctors like to talk about it because we all get in trouble. I don't care. We're going to talk about it anyway because we're moms, and this isn't a group of practitioners. Even cancer can get turned off by your choices. And this is so empowering. How many of you have either in your family or in your outside family an individual who's been affected by cancer? Yeah. So here's the thing to know. Cancer can be turned off. Now, there's all different stages, right? So I'm not saying that this is the whole answer, but we absolutely do know that it is within our control to have a huge impact on something even as devastating as cancer. One of the best studies is Dean Ornish. And so he took a group of men with prostate cancer And literally, this is the changes that they made. It was so simple. We could all do this. He had more plant-based foods, did some meditation, some breathing, had a group support network so that people felt like they weren't alone. And they did a little bit of exercise, just a little bit of gentle movement. And literally, the expression of the prostate cancer gene was reduced by 70%. He literally tracked it, like took a slice of the genes that code for prostate cancer, measured and saw that they were on, made these super simple changes, reducing the amount of animal foods, feeling supported, doing some meditation, some breathing, remeasured the genes, and they were off. Is that awesome? That is awesome. Yes, clap for him. He is awesome. If you want to learn more about one of the best studies is the China study. This is a great book if you want to pick it up. A little heady, but it'll give you a great idea of perhaps what the human being is meant to eat. And here's stress. So this is what I want to go through, because I want to spend the majority of our time together finding solutions, like finding simple things that we can do together. So what can you do? Okay, so we talked about our first step of 3 that we're going to take together is that we can clean out the toxins in our body. That's going to have a tremendous benefit for ourselves and our families. Here are the simplest ways that you can do that. Are you ready? Okay, so first, clean out the toxins that are already present. How do you do that? There's lots of cleanses on the market, right? You can buy colon cleanses and liver cleanses and every kind of cleanse, and they all are great. But what I want to teach you are kitchen remedies. I want to teach you stuff that we can all do, and you don't have to go buy anything, and you can do it tomorrow. That's what we're going to talk about, and it can become a part of your life. So first is if you start your day with a glass of water and you squeeze half of a lemon into it. How many people have heard of this before? Oh, we have such a smart group of people. Do you know why it's so helpful? It's alkalizing. Oh my gosh, we have a group. See, I love women. Okay, this is so fun. So it's alkalizing, number 1, absolutely. And it helps to stimulate liver and gallbladder. So liver and gallbladder, what they're doing while you're sleeping is they're dumping all of the toxins out of your body. They're cleaning up. And the first thing you want to do is get those out of your body. So that sour taste in Ayurvedic medicine, that particular flavor is going to stimulate liver gallbladder to dump. So that's number 1. Start your morning with half a lemon squeezed into water. We already got that. Flaxseed tea. Who has heard of flaxseed tea? Oh, good, something new. Okay. To clean the colon, lots of different bowel cleansers out there you can do, but a very simple one that you can do several times a week to keep yourself really clear is to take a teaspoon of ground flaxseed. You add 8 ounces of boiled water. You can add a little cinnamon and ginger. It actually tastes good. And let it steep for 8 to 10 minutes and then drink that. And that's going to continually help to clean out your colon, to keep yourself really clean. To cleanse the kidneys, if you have any issues, especially during your period with bloating, with any type of swelling, edema, any kidney issues, it's really great periodically, I would say about once a quarter, to do a watermelon seed tea. And so what you do is you take 4 tablespoons of freshly ground watermelon seeds, and they have to be fresh. So the most fun way to do this is to, now let me not make this assumption. How many of us here are moms? Okay, and how many of us are grandparents? Okay, and is anyone not connected to any children on a regular basis? Okay, great. Okay, so we've got the majority of us. All right, and you kind of like kids? Oh, you love kids. Okay, great. Okay, so I can talk about the kids. So the fun way to do this is to find seeded watermelon. That's actually kind of hard these days, but to find a seeded watermelon and then just enjoy, have just a free-for-all and then save the seeds. And then you can use those seeds immediately to make this. So that's the way I suggest doing it. And so you add 8 ounces of boiling water, steep for 10 to 15 minutes, and you drink that over a period of 2 days. And it will literally clean out your entire body. So if you're holding on to excess fluid, if you're feeling bloated, that is miraculous. Skin brushing. How many of you have done skin brushing before? Awesome, majority of us. So I won't spend too much time just brushing and opening your skin. Something that many people don't realize, and I'm going to take a second to explain it to you, is something called oil pulling. How many of us have done oil pulling on a regular basis? We've got a couple hands. Oil pulling is one of the simplest, I gotta lose these shoes. Oil pulling is one of the simplest things you can do to clean out all of the meridians of your body. So let me explain to you how this works. Our teeth are sitting on a meridian. So many of us are familiar with acupuncture meridians, right? And we have these energy pathways that go through our organs that go up and over our body out the other side. And each of those pathways goes through a particular tooth. So if you see a biological dentist, what you're going to find is that the areas of your body where you have issues, your teeth are more likely to decay on those meridians, and vice versa. So much so that now many biological dentists are testing the teeth that sit on the heart meridian, because there's evidence that when you have bacteria in those particular teeth, it will pass to the heart and can cause heart disease. So it is so important. I actually had an issue with a growth in my breast, and it was coming from an old root canal. So especially, I just cannot tell you enough that if you have any old root canals, any infections, anything going on in your mouth, it impacts your entire body, and it's really important to take a look at. So here's something simple that you can do. So oil pulling comes from Ayurvedic medicine. And what you do is you take a tablespoon of cold pressed sesame oil, and you put it into your mouth. And I just do this during my morning shower. And you suck it in and out through your teeth. You know, like when you're a kid and you eat Jell-O, and they're like, look at this. And you do that thing with your, sucking it in and out through your teeth. That's what you do with the oil. Just keep your mouth closed. And what it's going to do is it's going to foam up. And sometimes, like if you have a sinus infection, it'll actually turn green. I mean, it's like unbelievable how it pulls everything out. And then when you're done, you just spit it out and rinse out your mouth. But you will find, mark my words, if every single one of us takes this on, if you do this in your morning shower, your teeth will be whiter. People always ask me how I get my teeth white. Now you know. Your teeth will be whiter. Your gums will tighten up on your teeth, so you won't have that issue with the periodontal where you start to have a breakdown of your gum tissue. And your whole entire system will start to cleanse itself, especially if you have chronic sinus issues. So take that on, because it's something super, super simple that you can do in your morning routine.
Is that daily?
Daily.
Okay.
Just like in your morning shower. Yeah, 15 minutes is great, or however long your shower is. You can do it every day. I do it every day. Okay. So, and I'm going to send all this to you, I promise. All of this. You'll have every single thing I show you. Okay, so the other thing I want to tell you is exercise. So I used to do all kinds of exercise, right? I used to compete in strength conditioning. I played college sports. Like, that was my life for a period of time. And then you become a mom, and you are like so lucky if you can just get a shower, right? Like, that's like an accomplishment. Like, I took a shower. I washed my hair today. So this whole exercise conversation, kind of like, our many hats, that's another one that we lose really fast. So I started researching what is the most efficient, effective exercise. Like, I just wanted to bust it down. I'm like, you know what? I just want to break it down to what's the easiest thing I can do to get the best results, and I can do it at home while Jaden's sleeping. That was my question. Okay, so do you guys want to know what it is? Yes, you know what it is? Okay, so here it is. Don't say it yet. Don't say it. Okay, so this exercise increases oxygen. It helps with blood pressure. It gets your lymphatics going. But most importantly, just cut all the way down to what I cared about. It burns 38% more calories than running. So who knows what it is? Rebounding. It is. Now, how many of us rebound already? Oh, we have a couple of rebounders. This is the simplest thing that you can do to be able to burn. Now, I don't ever believe what I read, so because I was a runner, I strapped a heart rate monitor onto my body, and sure enough, if I rebound for about 10 minutes, I burn the same amount of calories as when I run a 5K. Wow. Isn't that ridiculous? So literally what I do for exercise, now of course I go, like all of us, we go through these different periods, but what I do is I do yoga, so I will do some form of sun salutation or some form of yoga, and I rebound, and that's it. And that literally is enough for my body type to keep me in the place where I feel really good. So I just wanted to share that, because I know I get a lot of questions about that, like what's the simplest thing that you can do? I'm going to send you some of these resources, so you're going to see I'm going to bust through them really fast. As far as cleansing your body, you cannot overlook water. Water is so critical, and in fact, the water that our bodies are designed to drink is fresh spring water from the earth. It has literally the intelligence of Mother Nature in it, and that does more than just hydrate our tissues. There's intelligence there. So one of the best things you can do for yourself and your family is to go to findaspring.org, and it has in the United States where all the natural springs are, where you can just go up and take your glass bottles and fill it up, and you have fresh spring water. So that's what we do for our family. I'm going to also give to you the Dirty Dozen. Who's heard of the Dirty Dozen? Oh, look at that. Did you have that in Moms in Charge? Yeah. Okay, so you guys already know about Dirty Dozen and their Skin Deep, EWG's Skin Deep. Awesome resource, awesome resource. Okay, so we're gonna finish this first step one with the simplest exercise that I use to keep myself in a place of joy, no matter what's going on. So I've done all of I'm sure like if we all sat and really got to know each other, we're really alike in that we're probably, a lot of us are seekers of information, and we love this process, right? Like where you learn and you grow and then you share it with other people, like you constantly. So this has been a question for me of what's the simplest thing that we can do to be able to stay in a place of gratitude. So this is my personal exercise. So of all the tools that I've learned, it comes down to these steps. I get really clear on what I'm committed to experiencing. Like this morning, I'm committed to being joy, brilliance, and abundance. No matter what, that's who I am, is joy, brilliance, and abundance. And I keep that present for myself all the time. So I literally am creating my day before I get out of bed or in my morning meditation. So that's who I am. And then in the face of craziness that comes at me, I stop and take a breath, and I just ask myself, what are the facts here? Because we have all kinds of our stories, and our minds go nuts, right? But do you guys know what your brain is supposed to do? This was interesting. This is where I just love studying some of these things like neuroscience and all these things. Do you know what the purpose of the brain really is? Anyone have an idea? It's literally for survival. The brain's, one of the sole functions of the brain is surviving. And the way that it ensures you survive is to keep everything safe and everything the same. And so literally when you hear that little voice in your head? That one that's talking right now and asking why I'm sitting here pausing? You guys heard it. You all heard it. Or you're thinking about I really like her scarf, or what's with the pleats, or all of that going on. It's constantly firing. It's judging, it's assessing, it's whatever. But the biggest thing it's doing is it's trying to keep things the same. It's trying to help you survive life. And until you really understand this, you actually think that what is going on between your ears is really serving you. And all it's doing, so the moment you do something courageous, the moment you have an idea I want to start a group that's going to change families around the world, right, Dottie? The second you say that, you know what your brain does? What did your brain do? It starts what? It starts creating, and then right after it starts creating, it's oh, but can I really do it? But oh my God, am I worthy? Oh my God, but then are people going to really want to do it? And if I go up to Christy and ask her if she's going to present it, she's going to think I'm an idiot, so then I'm going to stalk her, and then if I stalk her, will she really still come, or am I just totally destroying it? All of that goes on, right? And it's trying to keep our lives the same. And so the moment you recognize that, now you have freedom. Because that little rambling in your head can go on and on and on, but you get to consciously choose what your life is going to be about. Are you guys getting the distinction? Okay, because this is really important, especially when you have kids, because it's so easy to get caught in the drama. And really, actually, the kids are the easy one. Let's get real. It's it's the big kid that a lot of us are attached to. That's much more challenging than the little ones, right? Yay, let's clap for that. So here's how I break it down. This is as simple as it gets. I decide before a day starts, what am I committed to experiencing above all? And then when things come at me, I say, what are the facts? So literally, it could be, Jade, I'll use your example. Jade's having a meltdown. She would never do this, so I'm just totally making this up, right? Because never, ever. She's amazing. Having a meltdown about this happened in school and and this person's bullying me, or all of that, right? And we just break it down to the facts. This person said this, right? We just get down to what are the facts, And then you just bring wonder to it. Like you just bring the awe of a child. So if you can let go, if you can give up all of anything that's in the way of you experiencing what you're most committed to. For me, this morning, it was joy, brilliance, and abundance with ease. And so if you're willing to just give up being right, give up your reasons, give up your excuses, giving up needing to make the person in your life wrong, all of that, you will have a truly free and fulfilling life. Is that cool? It's cool. Okay, that was our deep thought for the moment. All right. Number 2. How are we doing on time? We're doing good. Okay. So number 1 step of our 3 was to cleanse. Okay? Number 2 is the most powerful thing that most of us completely ignore, which is sleep. And I just gave a talk on this at the last longevity, so I'm just going to give a couple high points. But of all the things, like we do all these amazing things for ourselves. We exercise and we feed our families well, and a lot of us get into how can we slow down the aging process and be beautiful and vibrant forever. And we're doing all these things, and we forget the simple, most foundational thing, which will help us to be successful at all those things, which is sleep. And here's why. Because everything that we're trying to affect is something called human growth hormone. How many of us have heard of this? Human growth hormone. It's what keeps us looking lovely, ladies. It helps our skin, it helps our hair, it helps our bones, it helps our metabolism. Everything that we're doing, we're trying to raise and keep our human growth hormone at the level it was when we were in our 20s. And the key is that it also repairs our skin and helps with elasticity. When we don't sleep, our skin can't hold on to moisture. So you can use the most beautiful, expensive beauty creams, and if you don't sleep, your body can't hold on to the moisture that's present, so literally your skin turns into a raisin on the inside. So human growth hormone is released predominantly during sleep. So you don't have to pay lots of money to have all of these things done. We just need to go to sleep so we can make our beauty hormones. It's as simple as that. And so in addition to being able to keep ourselves feeling youthful, this whole epigenetic conversation, we've also found out that sleep helps to turn off or silence the genes that code for obesity. And it's really real. So the longer you sleep, the less important genetics become in determining what you weigh. And so they took these twins and they had some of them sleep short and some of them sleep longer, and sure enough, they were able to quantify the number of hours. So getting less than 7 hours, literally, if you have a gene that codes for obesity in your family, you are more likely to express it if you sleep less than 7 hours. Amazing, right? Okay, here's the other thing to know, is that sleep, deep sleep, increases a hormone called leptin. And leptin makes you not hungry. So if you're not sleeping, you are literally going to have an increase in your cravings by 45%. And that's crazy. I mean, you think about how much time we spend on dieting and on trying to have willpower and all that. We just need to sleep. So, and there's all kinds of things with the immune system, and it's all great. But when should we sleep? Like, this is the question. So that's all well and good, but when should we sleep, and then how are we actually going to get to sleep? So this is interesting because this is a wheel. This is an Eastern medicine wheel. And what you'll see is that at different points, at different points in the day, certain organs are active. So you can see here that, so we've got the, between 9 and 11 is when thyroid and adrenal. Thyroid's responsible in part for what? Metabolism, energy, right? And then we talked about the liver and the gallbladder between 12 and 2 is when that's going to start detoxifying your body. Now, here's a little interesting side note. If you wake up, like you go to sleep, and like a clock, you wake up between 1 and 3, and you have no idea why, like you don't have to pee, you're not stressed, like you're just up, you need to look at your liver gallbladder. You probably have congestion there. So that's something that for a ton of women, I find, and especially it happens in women because we're on birth control pills, it depletes our vitamin B6. When you don't have B6 in your body, you form gallstones. Gallstones congest. That's why so many women have to get their gallstones out. You take out your gallbladder, and a lot of women have big problems. So if that's happening to you, 1 to 3, you're waking up, You want to see a holistic practitioner to get your gallstone cleared.
What about if that happens with kids, like toddlers?
So we'll talk about that after. And you know what? Like truly, 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 I wish I could be with you all day. So write down your questions and we'll give them to Dottie. Okay. So ideally you want to go to bed between 9 and 11. And I know, like when you have kids, like sometimes that's going to happen sometimes, and sometimes that's just not going to happen. It's funny, right? But that's what we're aspiring to. So when you have the choice, because the hours before midnight are doubly restorative, which means that if you went to bed at 10 and you woke up at 4, you would feel like you had a full night's sleep, as opposed to if you went to bed at midnight and you slept till 6. Do you get it? So literally doubly restorative before midnight. So start weaning your family earlier, if at all possible. Okay, so without sleep, all of our efforts for everything that we're doing, from anti-aging to our immune system to our weight loss, like you get it, right? We're literally setting ourselves up to fail if we're not sleeping. So how are we going to get better sleep? So here are the simplest things that you can do. Number 1, sleep in a completely dark room. And I mean completely black room. If you can't create that, like if you can't put blackout shades, then get something, an eye mask for your face. That number 1 will change your sleep, especially for kids. Night lights oftentimes will wake them up. So you want to make sure that they can sleep in a completely black room. If they're afraid, put the nightlight on a timer. Have that timer go off so that their pineal gland and their bodies can come to rest. Try to get to bed by 10 o'clock. Do not watch a screen at least 1 hour before bed. This is the biggest thing I see for kids. That blue light is just like activating their brains, and they can't come down from that. So nothing with a screen. Doesn't need it, computer, TV, any of it. Turn off your electronics, and the most important thing, which we're going to conclude with today, is to reconnect to the earth. And this is where the grounding conversation starts. So how many of us are completely inspired to start cleansing our body and get to sleep tonight? Yes? Woohoo! We're going to wake up tomorrow, and everyone's going to be like, what happened? And you're going to be like, I slept, and I oil pulled, or whatever you did, right? But the fun about this is that it can be so simple. This doesn't have to be hard, and it doesn't have to be expensive. It's really, really simple. Okay, so our third step is connect. And are we until 1 o'clock, Daddy? What's our time?
20 minutes.
Ooh, even better. Okay, that's good news. All right, so how many of you have heard of grounding or earthing? How many people have heard of it? Oh, that's awesome. We have like about half the room already. Okay, so since a lot of you have already heard about it, we'll touch on some fun stuff rather than just like the things that I often teach about. So here's the basic fundamental of it. We are a part of nature, and we've just completely forgotten that. So if you look at this whole grand scheme of the cycles of life and the seasons and the animals and how they go, we are a part of that same intelligence. And we just keep removing ourselves farther and farther and farther until all of a sudden nature is something that, like, we peek out of our windows and we see nature out there, or we take our kids on a field trip to go visit nature. But we are literally designed to be a part of that. And so just like, so what happens is that because we're part of that grand design, when we're connected with nature, our body is in its place, it's in its rhythm. And so when we go outside, and we know this now about the sun, like you can imagine how kooky it was, like let's say 100 years ago, if they would have said, you know what happens if you go into the sun, your body starts making this amazing hormone called vitamin D, and your immune system starts to work, and all of your brain chemicals start to make you feel happy. Like they would have thought it was crazy. And now we're at a point where we all kind of know that, right? Like we need to go out in the sun so we can get vitamin D, or we supplement with vitamin D. And so that's well established. But what we're just learning about now is that the earth is the same. So literally, when the sun's rays hit our skin, our body starts making all these chemical processes. Same thing happens when we put our bare feet on the earth itself. The earth is covered with energy. What it is these electrons, but it's covered with this energy. And the moment that you step on the earth, your body absorbs this energy, and what happens is absolutely mind-blowing. If I wasn't a part of this research team, so talk about stalking. the person who discovered this, his name is Clint Ober. And when I learned about it, and when I saw the research that was connected to this, I was like a woman on a mission. I was like, we are gonna find out what's going on with this whole earth thing. Because what I loved about it is, my passion is that every human being on the planet has access to limitless health and happiness. And that means that it can't cost anything, and it has to be available for everybody. And that's why I get so excited about this concept of grounding to the earth, because everybody, everywhere, has access to it. So as I'm telling you about this, you want to think about the people in your life who this could really make a difference for, because it's for everybody. So what happens, on just the simplest level, is that our bodies are primarily electrical. Like, we are literally a battery. And so just like a battery starts to have the charge wear down, our bodies are the same. So when you touch the earth, and we'll talk about how you do that, you literally are drinking up this energy and your body is recharging. And so what you're going to feel, I'll show you what we've measured, but what you're going to feel is that oftentimes more energy, you're going to feel your stress go down, your pain go down, inflammation often reduces. And so this whole concept is called earthing, but grounding is probably an even better one, because it literally is like connecting you to the ground. I love that theme you created for the morning. So the way you can connect to the energy outside is just as simple as that. You can go outside and put your bare feet on the earth. That's one way to do it. Grass, sand, or unfinished concrete. That means, like, if it's not really shiny, you can still get energy there. And so here's one thing that I want to share with you that could be an absolute life-saving tip for every single one of you. Anytime you fly, anytime you or a loved one flies, what happens when we go up in the air at that altitude is that our blood starts to absolutely clump together. It becomes almost like ketchup temporarily. And that's why if you look at the percentage of people who have heart attacks, aneurysms, and strokes after flying, it's absolutely frightening. Don't look it up, it's scary. It really is, in the hour after you fly. And that's in part because when you go to that altitude, everything is bogging down. So the moment you land and you're waiting for your bags to come out of baggage claim, get you and your kids and everybody outside. Shoes off. If there's a little patch of grass, at least 20 minutes, connect to that grass. If you don't have grass, get outside on the concrete. Like, people are going to think that you're certifiably nuts, but you know what? You're going to be alive, and you're going to be pink. And that's the most important thing, because what happens when you reconnect to the earth is that now your blood is going to flow freely, and so you're not going to have those risks. So that's something like every loved one, you want to make sure. Like, it's great to earth all the time, but that's a time where it's like mandatory. Did that land for you? Yeah. Did you guys tell I was a little bit passionate about that? Okay, good. I just want to make sure. Okay, so you can go outside and do that. There's also ways now, because most of us don't want to live in a teepee. I actually think it would be kind of fun. Right, Jaden? Do you think that would be we've talked about that, right? Yeah, like, sometimes don't you ever just want to have like the other experience where you're like, you got the house and the car and like you accomplished everything you want to accomplish, and then you're like, well, what if we just didn't have any of that? And like, what if we try to teepee on for 6 months? So who knows? Maybe next time you guys see me, I'll have like a feather in my hair or something funny. But for those of us who would like to stay in our comfortable houses and our lives aren't conducive to us spending time barefoot outside like we were intended to, that's the whole thing about what earthing is about, and the whole development of these products are how can we connect to the earth while we're inside. And one thing I really like to share with people is that so you can use things with your desk, and most importantly while you sleep and while you exercise. Like, there's all kinds of different ways. But part of what I love and why I get so behind this movement is because it's not about selling anything. It is about making a difference for people. So what I suggest to every human being on the planet is just first go outside. Put your bare feet on the earth for 30 minutes, and whatever you're struggling with, whether it's pain, inflammation, emotional stress, sleep, whatever it is, you probably will feel a subtle difference from just 30 minutes. And if you feel a change, then that's the point that you want to start earthing more. And so get yourself a product where you can stay connected longer. The most important time to connect to the earth is while you sleep. And I'll show you why in just a minute. So if you feel a good change, then start to connect to the earth while you sleep. Okay, so here's the research, and this is what got me impassioned. Because there's very few things in the world that are this simple and this cheap that make this big of a difference. We all know about thermography, right? If it's hot, and we actually have thermography here. I'm a huge fan, just like my stand-in, yes. Like all women for breast health deserve to be able to have a baseline breast thermography, period, so that you know what your breasts look like, and so you can monitor and track changes responsibly. So just, if you have the opportunity, I don't even know who's here, but whoever is here is an ambassador for women's health, and that's awesome. Is that you? Okay, fantastic. So before earthing, you can see that there's red, there's heat in these areas. After connecting to the earth for just 30 minutes, you can see that literally heat and inflammation and pain melt away. And this is the experience that many people have. So anybody in your life who has chronic pain or inflammation, you want to get them connected to the earth. Why is lowering inflammation so important? This is what I want. We're brilliant women here, so I want you to really get this. Literally at the heart of all disease is one common thread. Literally, chronic inflammation is what's underneath all of it. So we just call it different names. So chronic inflammation in the heart we call heart disease, pancreas we call diabetes, joints, arthritis, and so on. And the reason you know this is, think about it. When you go to the doctor and they don't know what's wrong with you, right? You have something weird and they just don't know what to give you. What do they give you usually? Anti-inflammatory, like a steroid, right? Some type of an anti-inflammatory, and then magically whatever's wrong with you seems to at least temporarily get better, right? So why would all of these crazy conditions, you throw a steroid at the body, why would you feel better? Because it reduces inflammation. And so at the heart of all of these wacky illnesses then, we know that must be there is chronic inflammation. So if you can do something about chronic inflammation, now you're doing something about every single disease on the planet. And not only about if you have the disease, but the prevention of developing that disease, because these things don't just pop up overnight. So one of the things you can do for yourself and your family is to keep inflammation at bay by what you eat, by what you think, and by making sure to stay connected to the earth as much as possible. So inflammation would turn out to be the elusive holy grail of medicine, the single phenomenon that holds the key to sickness and health. And it's interesting, you know, if you talk to people, especially women with autoimmune disease, this is what drives me crazy, because women are given these death sentences of multiple sclerosis, of chronic Lyme's disease, of lupus, of crippling rheumatoid arthritis, and there's nothing that anyone can offer you that is like a good alternative. It's just like, let's slow down the progression of horrible. Like, that's what it is, right? This is something that you can do. This is something every single person. So if you have anyone in your life who has any of these illnesses, this is something that you can offer them that without a shadow of a doubt you know will help them. Now, it may or may not be able to help them in such a way that they can immediately say, oh, wow, I'm like better. But you know that over time, that would be the single most impactful thing you could give to them. So earthing, or this concept of grounding, is literally so effective that it received a patent for treating autoimmune and illness. So for those of you who know how hard it is to get a patent, it actually received a patent. The most important time to connect to the earth is while you sleep. And so there's a study done, and almost everybody slept better, and they felt more refreshed and all that. But here's why, and this is what I want you guys to get. How many of us know about cortisol? Yes? Okay. And we think of cortisol as kind of bad, right? Like, you don't want to have too much cortisol, right? But cortisol is actually really important, and here's why. So cortisol is supposed to wake us up. So at about like 8 in the morning, we're supposed to wake up, and cortisol is what gives us energy so that we can start to feel alive. Without cortisol, that's why we need all of our coffee and stimulants and Red Bulls and all of that, right? Because our cortisol actually isn't high enough at that point. And then at about 10 o'clock midnight, it's supposed to go down. And that's when we're supposed to relax. And so a lot of our cortisols are like anything but that, right? So our cortisol is super sluggish in the morning, and then at night we're like revved up and like we can't fall asleep. It's opposite. And so here's what was really cool about when you connect to the earth. So you can see that at the beginning. Hey, camera guy, am I making you absolutely nuts? Are we cool?
No, you're making me nuts.
Okay, I'm making... All of a sudden I realized there's this guy back here and he's going, whoa! And he's like doing this. Okay, I'll stay put. Okay. So before we connect to the earth, this is what, on the left side, this is what all of us look like. Our cortisol is all over the place, but majority of us, if you think about what's happening in America, we feel like we got hit by a truck in the morning. You feel like you didn't sleep, right? You're like, ugh, and then you pull yourself out of bed, whatever you need to do to like get your motor running. And then at night, a lot of us are all jammed up and we can't fall asleep. That's like what's happening for the majority of us. Literally, after connecting to the earth while you sleep, your cortisol will come into perfect rhythm. Literally perfect rhythm where you're going to start to be able to wake up with energy and start to sleep, go to sleep at night. Now, this is one of those things that defies medicine. I love things that defy explanation. Because the question is, if you ask anybody, just mess with your doctor next time you go, and just say, well, what causes cortisol? How does it know when it's supposed to go up? Like, what tells it to do that? And then you'll get this like, well, like they'll shake a little. Well, I don't know, and so they'll come up with some answer. We don't know. The thing is, we have all these miracles going on in our body, and we have no idea how the intelligence of our body knows that it's supposed to rise itself up and give us energy at 8 and then go to sleep at about 10 o'clock at night. And the answer, which we think, is in fact, it's the earth that's telling it to do that. Because we've now taken populations of people, look at my arms, we've taken populations of people, and every single human being on the planet, when you reconnect them to the earth, their bodies go into a sync with each other. And cortisol will come up and wake them up and go to sleep at night. Same thing is happening with women's menstrual cycles. Now here's what's interesting. When you look back in Native American traditions, when you look back in different cultures, when women gathered, when we were more tribal in nature, women had these beautiful ceremonies every month where we got together in sweat lodges or we had these wisdom circles. I mean, literally, we need to get our power of the wisdom circle thing. They're like, yeah, we're going to build on wisdom circle. You stalk me about that later, okay? Okay. So we had these times where we got together. And I often thought to myself, I'm like, well, that must have been like a really kind of disconcerted meeting, because what was interesting is you could only come to the meeting while you had your menstrual cycle. It was literally this time of power, because in these traditions, when a woman during her menses was considered literally to be feared in the village, she was so powerful, and the women would be, this is true, women would gather in these places where only the women could be, and the men were nowhere to be found. They were considered so powerful, almost like witchcraft, like they could cause anything. But here's what's interesting. What I found out is that these cycles that were happening in the tribe, like these gatherings, every single woman was in those tribes, those gatherings at the same time, because every single woman was getting her menstrual cycle at the same time. Have you ever, and we know this, right? When you live with women, you start to come in concert with each other, right? When you connect to the earth, what you're going to find is that your menstrual cycle starts to shift in concert with the lunar cycle of the moon. Because we are, in fact, our bodies are guided by the wisdom of the moon cycles. And so when we have a new moon, that's the time when we're most likely to shed and purge. And so that's when we have our menstrual cycle. And when the building of the full moon, that's our ovulation cycle. And so when we've been disconnected from the earth, now our bodies are just kind of doing whatever they can do. But when you reconnect for a period of time, now you're back in touch with the wisdom. Is that the most divine thing ever? Isn't that so beautiful to know that we are a part and just this expression of this universal intelligence? That is so moving. So yes, it's kind of cool. This is why Clint, he's like, you need to go talk about this. Because the guys, they're like, look at this graph, isn't this cool? And that's not really that cool, but the idea of having this beauty and this wisdom and connection is really what's so moving. Now, cortisol also, if you're trying to lose weight, the cool thing about cortisol is that it helps with especially tummy weight. So whenever our cortisol is dysregulated, if you're just trying to do everything you can to lose weight and you can't lose weight around the tummy, that's usually hormonal weight or cortisol weight, so that's really helpful. Earthing effects, and we're going to go through just this very quickly. Earthing affects the heart and circulation. So the moment that you reconnect to the earth, oftentimes you'll see that your face will change. you'll start to pink up, you'll start to see your complexion, your skin will look a lot more vibrant and alive. It helps to calm the brain. Literally, we've measured brain waves now to show that, we're making it up kind of hard in that we do all these things to try to balance ourselves. So we do our meditations or our yoga or our biofeedback or whatever it is, and they're all fantastic. I'm a huge advocate of every single one. But what we're trying to accomplish with all those things is that there are these waves in the brain, these really slow waves that are present when we're in that state, right? And the cool thing is that literally the second you put your bare feet on the earth or you connect to the earth in some way, those parts of your brain light up. And so it's like an instant yoga. And so it allows your body, you to be in that space that now you're a channel. And so I think of it as they show you everything started here and there's your brain waves. But that's what I think about. I think of it like an instant yoga. And if you look at the traditions of the world, Qigong, if you look at a lot of the Kung Fu masters of the martial arts, they all did these arts while they were barefoot on the ground. And that wasn't by accident. It's funny, one of my friends is seeing this monk and they were talking about doing this Kung Fu. And they were talking about being connected to the earth. And so he says to this monk, he's like, oh yeah, there's this whole phenomenon, this woman is doing this, it's with earthing. And this monk looks at him and says, oh, they gave it a name now. Oh, that's cool, because this is a wisdom it's not new. It's not like, wow, look at this discovery. We've known that the earth gives us power for all these years. Earthing reduces stress. This is something we've actually measured stress on the body. And the moment you connect to the earth, you'll see that stress immediately drops. And so that's something, when you think about grounding, there's a reason why we say that you need to get grounded or we need to be able to come back to earth. It's because it has that exact effect on the body. So it's a much healthier alternative to stress. Here's what I'm talking about with the airplane. And essential oils, powerful essential oils can do this as well. So if you want to have a perfect world, take your little goodie bag or get some of those essential oils. And when you fly, put some of those essential oils on the bottom of your feet, and you can even breathe it in because it'll clean the air, all that putrid air that you're breathing in as you're flying. And then connect to the earth when you get down, and you'll see that your red blood cells will be flowing much better. Okay, so we're almost to the end here. There's so many things I could show you. One of the most important things is diabetes. How many of us have someone we love who's affected by diabetes? Again, most of our hands. Diabetic ulcers and neuropathy are miraculous. If you want to cause a miracle for somebody in your life, this is one thing that I've actually never had not be miraculous. If anyone has open ulcers, issues with feeling on their feet, any of the neuropathies, if they connect to the earth, now they need to stay connected to the earth for about 16 hours a day. It doesn't have to be outside. There's tools you can use now. But literally, they will start to have feeling in their feet come back, and those ulcers will close. It is unbelievable to be able to cause that kind of a miracle for somebody. So every diabetic on the planet needs to be connected. It reduces pain. It does all kinds of things. Balances blood sugar, helps with your thyroid, boosts your metabolism. But here's the thing that gets me most really jacked up and excited. Oh, I jammed this up, sorry. Where do I click this? Okay, I want you to, some of you might have already seen this, but I just want you to envision for a second that this is your child, okay? And for those of you who have seen this before, just let yourself experience it newly, because I experience this all the time. So imagine that your body is a plant. And what we're doing is we're taking two bulbs, and the bulb on the left is ungrounded, so it's not connected to the earth. And the bulb on the right is connected to the earth, okay? And I want you to imagine that this is our kids. And now watch what happens over time. So we can see on the right now that the grounded bulb is starting to grow faster and taller. And bolder. And here they are at full maturation on the very next slide. And you can see the difference between one that's connected to the divine intelligence of the universe and the other that's not. And that is the reason that I'm here. Because if there's something that we can give our kids that's going to make a huge impact in their life, it's to connect them back to the source. We can do all these other amazing things, right? But if we can connect our kids to the source and give them that gift and allow their own body's innate intelligence to do what it's meant to do, to give them a healthy life, to give them a happy life, to help them reach their potential, that's our ultimate job as a mom. And so that's why it's so important to me to be able to have the opportunity to share things like this with you. And I just really want to thank you for being the people that you are for your families and for our future, because we all are in the same boat. And honey, I just want to let you know, because you're not usually in the audience when your mommy is talking, but this is why I do what I do, is to create a world for you and a life for you that is beautiful beyond what you can imagine. Yeah. Oh, that's very sweet. Thank you. That was very lovely and unexpected. Here's something else as I close, and I'm just going to invite you to in something we can participate in together, because I'm really committed that we all stay connected. We're just building momentum, and I really get the power of what Dottie's building here, and I really know that this is the nucleus, and next year it's going to be bigger and bigger and bigger, like we're the heart of this, right? And so I'm really committed that we all stay connected with each other. But I realize that our power, women, is when we open our hearts. That's like really what makes us unstoppable, is when we're not afraid to really reach out to each other and share with each other what really matters to us and really ask for the support that we need and the help. We are powerful beyond measure, and so it can be a lot easier than we think it might be. So what I'm going to invite you to participate in, and I'm sure everyone already has their name down, so I'll send you out the email with this slide so you can see all the things that I didn't have time to cover. But we're doing something really cool, which some of you might have had an opportunity to participate in at Longevity, and for those of you who have, great, you're still welcome to participate. And for those of you who it's new, we can take this on together. It's called the Women's Vibrant Study. And what it is it's built on top of, from a foundation of a study that I participated in with sunflowers. And here is, in the very essence of it, is that we wanted to see the impact on something that was really simple that everyone could understand, including children, because this is a study that I'm committed we bring into every single public school in America. And so we took two groups of sunflowers, and one group was connected to the earth and the other one wasn't. And you can see as we progress that the sunflowers start out the same, and then you start to see a distinct difference in the sunflowers until on day 7, you can see really clearly that the sunflower that's connected to the earth is vibrant and strong, and the one that isn't connected is starting to get weak and withered. And this is such a beautiful, easy visual for people to understand just the essence of what it is to be connected to this life force and this intelligence. When we are naturally vibrant and strong. And so what we did on top of this, oh, that's a fun. I'm writing a kid's book right now about this concept of this is beautiful, I'll just take a second to tell you. When you connect to the earth, what's really neat is that you literally physically now are connected to the energy of every other human being that's touching the earth at the same time. And the message I really want to give kids is for them to know that they're never alone. That all they need to do is reconnect, and they're reconnected to every single other person on the planet. So that is going to be coming out soon. So here are our takeaway points, and then I'll give the invite. It's totally natural for us to be vibrant and healthy, and we have to keep it really simple. And so the 3 things we talked about today are, number 1, cleanse. Number 2, make sure we get our sleep. And number 3, to connect to the earth and also how we started, which is to each other. That's why this is such an awesome organization. And the question you want to really ask yourself is, what flower are you going to be for yourself and for your family? And so the Women's Vibrant Study is something that we're going to be launching nationwide. We started it in longevity. It was a complete hit. And so now I'm going to start enrolling, inviting people around the country, and it's now going international. And what it is it's an opportunity for people to have a physical experience of reconnecting to the earth and to measure parameters before and after. So it's really fun. It's going to be just a webinar that you're invited to participate in, and you have a survey. You answer like 7 questions as far as pain and beauty and energy and flexibility and how you're feeling. And then we'll play with each other for like an hour, and I'll teach you about what we're doing, and then you measure it afterwards. And so if you're interested, what I'll do is I'll send you a little form or a little invite, and what I'll mail to you is everything that you need to do this. So I'll mail you a book so you can understand what earthing is, and then 5 patches so that you can connect to the earth, and a cord and anything, and then also 3 invites if you want to invite your other women in your life. And we're just going to like have a party. And the goal is that we want to quantify and really show that this isn't just about flowers. This is about all of us. And how does this reconnection in a quantitative, scientific way that anyone in the world can see is making a huge difference on the impact of women's lives. So with that, I just really want to thank you for our time together. It's been such a pleasure, such an honor. Dottie, thank you for being a stand that I'd be here. And I look forward to the rest of the day. Thank you.